Hello, my name is Lou,
I'm Katie.
and you're listening to Files from the Other Side. This week, we're opening up the files on.
Local haunts.
I'm excited about this one. Stomping Grounds, the episode of the Stomping Grounds.
We're gonna apparently reveal where we live. I think we already have technically. But that's a lot of information you guys are about to get about us.
Well, do you want to start with San Fran or do you want to go with Spokane?
I only have the one, so I'll just fucking tell. Oh man, so Alcatraz, the Ohlone peoples apparently, allegedly, always thought that Alcatraz was haunted. There is one website that I found that said that they would use it as an isolation place, like for banished people.
Okay.
I couldn't find that other places necessarily, but there's a history of they said the evil spirits lived there or something like that. So
Okay.
it was the site of the first lighthouse in California in 1854. And then it's became the first permanent army detachment on it was in 1859, and then between 1934 and 1963 it was a federal prison.
Right.
Which is where our story is going to take place. Includes famous prisoners like Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, Robert Stroud the Birdman. Robert Stroud the Birdman of Alcatraz are some of the famous people that were there. The story's not about any of them though.
Okay.
So, Cell Block D
Right.
was used as solitary.
Hmm.
And there's some really horrific cells that they had in Alcatraz that were there's some solitary cells that had no toilet at all. They just had a hole in the ground. There was solitary, they would take their beds away. Some of these cells that they would literally take their beds away during the day and not be given reading materials and shit like that. And all the fucking food was there. There was some really horrific things happening. And it's said that on Alcatraz there is the thing. It's got glowing red eyes, and people seen it around and shit like that. So on Cell Block D, there's this guy that's in solitary, and he's screaming all night about being strangled. There he sees this thing with red eyes, fucking strangling him. He can't fucking breathe, blah, blah, for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then it finally stops, around daybreak. It finally fucking stops. And they check this guy's cell. He's the only guy in solitary on D block at the time, and he's dead. Gone. Strangulation marks across his throat. Somebody's hands had been around his neck.
Oh my
None of the
God.
guards ever come forward to say that they killed him.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
They also were having a lineup for some reason. There was some sort of lineup going on, and apparently I read this somewhere that they saw him at lineup the next day, in a line. And then everyone was like, "Didn't you just die?" And then he disappeared. Everyone was like, "What the fuck was that?" Yeah, crazy. Yeah, no one ever came forward, but it was the thing. And the fucking coroner say that there was no way that he could have strangled himself. There was evidence that somebody else had done it. So yeah, crazy. Crazy. And then after 1963, Alcatraz is no longer a federal prison. The next exciting thing happens is in March 1964 when indigenous people claimed the island, citing the 1868 treaty with the Sioux that allowed for indigenous people to claim unused federal land. And then that didn't last for too long though. In November 1969, members of the American Indian movement occupied and demanded the deed of The Rock. That's actually what Alcatraz is called sometimes. It's called The Rock. That's what the movie The Rock is about, obviously. So that's it in my notes, The Rock. I'm like, right. Federal marshals had them forcibly removed in 1971, and then it became part of the the Golden Gate National Recreation Area in 1972. So yeah, it was a little brief history of Alcatraz with a super fun, spookily ghost story that fucks me up every time I think about it.
Okay, I have a theoretical question for you. What's your theory about the thing?
I think it's the thing. Like, it was like the fucking 30s. Like, some guard didn't come out 50 years later being like, it was me. Like, were they gonna get in trouble? Like, really? Like, realistically? Like, were prison guards could do I don't know. And I actually, well...
ACAB, but, yeah.
I like somebody would have come. I feel like somebody would have come forward or told one of their friends and been like, I killed that guy. Yeah. And then somebody would have told at some point. Like,
yeah. Do you know what the guy's name was?
I don't remember. I couldn't even find dates either.
So it feels like an urban legend almost, rather than
Yeah. People have seen the thing, though. Like, there's a lot of, but maybe the thing is an urban legend in and of itself, that's the thing is, like, a real,
So why would it be attracted to Alcatraz, specifically? Just because, like, the evil nature of the place and, like, capturing people in solitude or something? Like...
Yeah. And then, of course, because, like, I feel like all of the human misery, like, traps bad energy there. Like, it just, like, makes it, like, a vortex. Like, it makes it so much easier for evil things to come out. It just stays. And then, like, maybe, like, some other, like, maybe it's not, like, some sort of demon. Maybe it's, like, from, like, another realm. Like, maybe it's just, like, an amalgamation of a few people's, like, really fucked up spirits that, like, I've turned into this thing with glowing red eyes.
That is a possibility. I like that theory.
Yeah. Who knows? Or it's fucking an evil spirit. Like, maybe it is a demon.
Demons.
Or not.
We have an episode on that, so if you want to listen to that one, you can go to our prior episodes.
Yeah. More information there.
So, can you tell everybody about the ghost tour that we took in San Francisco? I'll tell my haunted bit, but you tell what we did that night.
I mean, I just love a ghost tour, man. We went downtown. We walked around some hotels in downtown. We heard some ghost stories. I was drunk, I feel like.
No,
we were stoned.
Shrooms.
Oh, right. I was gonna say, I was literally gonna be like,
yeah. Well, so that's what happened. So that's where we were. We were downtown San Francisco doing our ghost tour. I don't remember where we were at.
It was Union Square. I don't remember the names of the hotels.
I feel like it was the Paisley Hotel or something. Hotel Paisley. Or something like it. That was the old name.
The one on Geary, I feel like, was that one.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we were walking about, and I was just chit chatting with my friend Katie, and I like get this glimpse out of the side of my eye as the ghost tour person is telling the story. I get this glimpse out of like one of the top windows of the building, and I see this like lady in white, or just this like glowing white lady, just like lean out the window, like she's gonna jump.
Mm-hmm. No.
And as soon as I look up, she disappears. She's gone.
That's not fun.
Yeah, well, it was, it's funny because at the time I was like gaslighting myself. I was like, there's nothing there. I didn't really see that, did I? I totally saw it. I might have been a little bit high, but I swear to God I saw it. And so basically the tour guide was telling the story of Florence Cushing, who was...
I love that you remember the name, because I fully can't remember. Like, I think Jonestown. We talked about the Jonestown. Like, who's the dude from Jonestown? Him. We talked about him, and I was like,
that was a different hotel.
Yeah, that was a different hotel, but that's all I remember. And I can't even remember that man's name.
Well, okay,
So,
so Florence
sorry.
Cushing was this girl. She was from England or something, and she had gone to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii she was settling in San Francisco or something. Well, she she didn't intend to go to San Francisco and stay there. She was supposedly supposed to go back to, maybe it was the East Coast or England, wherever. But she like visits Hawaii and then goes to San Francisco, and that's like kind of her last stop because she jumps out the window of this hotel and like herself. And it's a tragic ending, but the mystery about Florence Cushing is nobody's really sure why she did it. Like I don't even think she had like a note that said anything like about why she was doing it. Like if there was a note, it said nothing about it. Like I think it just says like goodbye, but like she just lops out the window, dies, and that's the end of Miss Florence Cushing. But it like made the papers pretty big during the time she did it. I don't remember what year it was, but very interesting that I saw her spirit there. So that's my San Francisco Ghost Square.
I remember. Wait, now one of the other ones is coming back to me. They locked Chinese women in the bottom of a hotel while it was on fire one time. I remember, and that's like one of the ghosts that you can hear is like you can hear the women like screaming and yeah. That's sorry. That just came to me.
Damn, I don't remember that one. Yeah, I think I remember the Jonestown stuff. I remember like when I go on ghost tours, especially like I really just like love looking at stuff. So like half the time my brain checks out and I'm just like observing, or sometimes just looking for ghosts myself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I took the most notes on our Vegas ghost tour.
You took notes?
I took notes. I've actually been meaning to send you them since August. Because that's when I went on this ghost tour.
I went on a ghost tour recently in LA. Actually, when I was down in LA, this Sophie took me on a bus ride ghost tour around LA. It was sick. It was so cool. And the tour guide was a psychic medium. I think her name was Natasha. Shout out Natasha. She was cool. Okay, but we're gonna jump into Spokane's ghost stories. I think is where we're gonna go.
Please, yes.
So there are 3 main ghost stories, or just tall tales of Spokane, Washington, up in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to start with Spokane's Greenwood Cemetery, the 1,000 Steps. And I'm going to show you guys a picture of the 1,000 Steps. That's the 1,000 Steps. That's what it looks like. Just steps.
Okay.
Legend has
That's
it
pretty.
that like if you stand at the bottom and try to climb all the way to the top, you will be interrupted by spirit and you won't actually ever be able to make it to the top. Legend has it you'll either be stopped by a ghost, scared, or fall down, or you'll have a time warp in which, like, I've heard of a time warp in which like people try to go up and then like several hours later they're standing in the same spot they were. So like they'd go at 10 p.m. and they'd be there until 6 a.m. They didn't know time had elapsed.
That's wild.
Yeah, but
Wait, have you ever? Okay,
so
sorry.
I've investigated the 1,000 Steps. Yes, I'll tell you what I think about it in a second, though. So there's this mausoleum that sits at the top of the steps that had a big old elk on it because it was owned by the Fraternal Order of Elk Society in the 1800s. But they abandoned the mausoleum because the elks went bankrupt and the mausoleum was kind of deserted. So right now, it just there's a bunch of pictures of me by it, but it looks like on my Instagram. But there's graffiti, like all this poetry, lovey-dovey hearts. You can kind of get inside it. It's chained like barely, so you can kind of like if you're skinny, you can slip inside there. But like that whole area has been like gated off. So like there's the mausoleum at the top, and then the 1,000 steps that go down to the road. And then there's a big old gate that they put, and it's like an art piece gate too. And like there's a little plaque on the gate that says Heaven's Gate. And it's this artist had like donated it, or somebody, the Greenwood Cemetery like bought it from this artist, and they placed it above the 1,000 steps because what they don't want people to do anymore is like explore the mausoleum and explore the steps because the steps are so decrepit. They're worried that people will like investigate in the night and then fall down and get hurt and like whatever. So be careful if you're going to investigate the 1,000 steps, but The cemetery itself is kind of like spiritually haunted. I would say like the haunt depends on what you're asking spirit or what you're expecting from spirit. Because like one time, the first time I ever showed up with Haley to Greenwood Cemetery, right outside that mausoleum, we found an unopened joint, an unopened gram joint. And
Nice
best believe
one.
I picked that shit up and I was like, thanks, spirit. Holla at you, girl. You know?
Yeah, that's the appropriate response.
But I really today think that the gate,
Holla back, y'all.
the gate negates the thousand steps energy. I think the gate at the top, the art piece that they put at the top called Heaven's Gate, negates the energy that the thousand steps once had. I've tried investigating this thousand steps before and it was quiet. Crickets. But I got the sense that that gate has an entity, or the gate has a energy.
A gatekeeper?
Yeah, like an energy itself. I think it's a protection of the cemetery itself, which like makes sense too because it's a resting place for spirits. It's an old ass cemetery in Spokane. So next up is the legend of the cursed city of Spokane.
What?
Yeah, you ready for this one?
No.
Okay. So it's 1986, and there's 18 police officers, and they do an unwarranted search on the homes of two Romani-American families who the police suspected were in possession of some stolen property. The search yielded over $1.6 million in cash and $160,000 in jewelry on the premises. The Marks family, unofficial leaders of the Romani community at the time, did the only rational thing they could think of. Led by Grover Marks, the late patriarch of the clan, they cursed Spokane and then sued the city for $40 million for the unlawful raid of their homes, eventually settling at $1.43 million at the end of the successful court case. So they won, sued the city of Spokane, and then he cursed Spokane. He said, "Y'all be cursed. Y'all's police stole my money." But Grover Mark's son, like later in time, I think it was like in 2007 when the Marks dad dies, the son Michael Duke Marks proclaims at James's funeral that the curse, I think, is off Spokane. We appreciate everything that has been done, all the kind words and the sympathy. It's a kind gesture towards Spokane, except, upon Grover Marks' death in 1997, James Marks stopped the funeral procession in front of Spokane City Hall. His reason? To open the door of the hearse his father's body was left in, and to let his father's ghost, haunt the building for all eternity. It's so funny. It's like, he's like, I think Spokane's not cursed anymore, but let me just stop this hearse and make sure that, like, just in case my dad wants to fuck some shit up in City Hall, he can get in there. It's so funny.
This guy's a legend.
Yeah. He really did say, fuck the police.
Fuck the police. Fuck your government. He's a man after our own hearts. Like,
I know, right? It's like one of my favorite tales about Spokane.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things I've ever heard. Actually, I'm like crying a little bit. Like, that's amazing. Fuck your city. I will make sure, like,
fuck your city. I'm out of here. Dies.
Fucking.
His son's like,
I bet it was stipulated to but like he was part of the will. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the son just thought of it. If the son thought of it himself, that is better, even better. But I feel like the dad was like, stop by City Hall and like let me
spook
like
the people a little bit. Yeah. I love it. I truly love it.
Let me haunt City Hall. Fuck these people.
Yeah. So the third and final story I'm going to tell is the story of Hangman Creek, also known as Latah Creek. Originally, like, it's the natives in Spokane called this area Latah Creek, and Latah means place of fish or place to fish. In 1858, Colonel George Wright recorded the creek's name as Lahto, Lahtoo, Lahtoo, Lahtoo. But like when he names it, he does some really fucked up shit afterwards. In 1858, Colonel George Wright hanged without trial the Yakima chief Qualchan and several other Native Americans at a spot a few miles south of Latah Creek. So it's like along the Spokane River. Um, so locals then changed the name to Hangman Creek because it honored the story of Chief Qualchan. And supposedly Chief Qualchan protects the area and or haunts the area. I would say if you're white, he haunts it. I would say if you're native and you're looking for connection to, the Spokane people, like, I wouldn't say you couldn't connect with Chief Qualchan. I know Shayla and Cheyenne of Para Northwest have investigated Latah Creek before at certain sites. So, that's my last one. Like, Spokane itself, it's got some fucking ghosts.
There's a ghost supposedly in the fucking caves by the Sutro, the old Sutro baths. Like, apparently if you light a candle at the beginning of the cave, like, something will will pick it up and throw it. Like,
That's so
they're
weird.
like, fuck that.
That's crazy.
No.
I've heard of a ghost story like that here in Washington where, like, if you drive up to a part at a road, the ghosts will push your car, like, 20 feet. Like, you just like, put your car in neutral and wait to see, and then, and they say if you really want to catch the phenomenon, try putting, like, powder on the back of your bumper and seeing if you can catch fingerprints of people, like, pushing your car.
That's...
I don't remember where it was. I'll have to look into that.
That's a really specific, very cool one.
Yeah. I was into, like, looking into Washington myths. Well, a lot of the time I'm looking into these myths for the documentary that I'm doing. So we're trying to put Coeur d'Alene, Idaho on the map, which is just like 40 minutes outside of Spokane, but also Spokane too, because there's a lot of paranormal investigators over here, a lot of paranormal cool shit happening. So yeah,
my childhood home off of Ocean and Miramar. People in San Francisco will know what the fuck I'm talking about, but that was about the area. I was 12 and I was like up, probably listening to music past when I was supposed to be, but I heard footsteps across my bedroom floor and I was like, what the fuck? And then my mom came upstairs and was like, who the fuck was walking around up here? Like, we were both supposed to be in bed.
To beat your ass.
No, literally, she was like, what the fuck is going on? Y'all were supposed to be asleep and I was in bed. Like, we were both in bed. I was still awake, but we were both in bed, and I heard these footsteps across my floor. And she also apparently heard them, because we got in trouble for them. And neither one of us was doing anything.
The ghosts are like, let's create some havoc.
Yeah.
The ghosts really be out here. Just
oh, you
chaos.
know what? Should I tell my other ghost story? I was in college, and I was living in a dorm that was, like, famously haunted. Like, it used to be a hospice. So there was one night I was like closing at the grocery store where I worked, and so I was off at like 11. I got back, like, I did some light grocery shopping afterwards. Got back with like 11:30ish. I was probably going out to like one of the shared
town.
Yeah, I was going out to like a shared area. I did some homework, whatever the fuck. I had a whole ass conversation with myself about not drinking. Like, that's the thing. I was actually fucking sober when this happened, which is not necessarily the case for most of the fucking...
anything that happened in Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, for anything that happened in Seattle, you should assume that I was not eating and also, like, 3 drinks deep. But... I actually wasn't, and I had a whole conversation with myself about it, being like, you won't get drunk until 5 a.m. Like, it's not going to be, like, no, you have shit to do. Just go do some homework, go to bed. So, like, 12:30, 1 o'clock, I go to bed. Okay, great. 3-ish, 3:30, it feels like to me.
So the witching hour. But
the witching, I know instinctively upon waking up that it's at least 3 o'clock in the morning. I feel like it's about 3:30. I've woken up in the middle of the night with the overwhelming sensation that I am being watched.
Yeah.
It's like, the fuck? And I like peek a little bit, my roommate's asleep. I scan. I was in a quad, so there's 2 other girls on the other side of like a wall. If I could scan, nothing sounds out of the ordinary. So I venture a look to see what the fuck's going on. I like look up from my fucking bed, and there is the shadow of a man standing over the edge of my bed. He's got this really wide brimmed hat on. He's angry. Like I saw the figure, and then I was like, I could feel the anger off of him. So
he was like a hat man. That's like a thing.
The kind of hat he was wearing is called an undertaker.
I'm gonna Google what that is and show everybody.
Yeah. Because it's like a really wide brim, like round top, wide ass brim.
Yes, this is notably a hat known to be seen by like a figure, a hat man.
There's more story.
There's more to it? You
didn't
just see the hat man?
No.
Holy
there's
shit.
more to it.
I'm so sorry. I thought that was it.
No, you're good. That's not the whole story. So, see the hat. See the hat man. Super angry. Angry energy off of him. I covers back over my head, and I just start praying for his peace. I'm like, feeling subsides for a couple, like after a few minutes, I fall back asleep, fully under the covers. Like, can't venture a look again. But like at some point, I was relaxed enough to fall back asleep. So I wake up the next morning, and I hear everybody's up. Like, It's like 7:30. My immediate roommate's not up, but you can see she's on it. Like, she's scrolling on her phone. I can hear the other 2 girls up. So I get up in between the fucking rooms, and I'm like, okay, guys, the fucking weirdest thing happened to me last night. And the roommate who is the same side of the room, where her bed is on the same side of the room, on the other side, turns to me and is like, did a man with a hat stand over your bed?
So they saw them too?
She said, did a man stand over the foot of your bed? And I was like, was he wearing a hat? And we both were like, what the? She saw him too. He stood in the same place.
Oh my God.
Over her bed, which is on the same side. Like, chills to this day. This was years ago, and I still get chills thinking about it. So yeah, now that's the end of the story, and I do want to hear about Mike's hat man. But yeah, she also saw him.
Okay. So the Hat Man is a shadowy figure that appears in sleep paralysis and in nightmares. It's an urban legend. It's just like a ghost, like shadowy type person wearing a hat and a
like the Grinning Man or something. Like, but
it's I don't know. I think it's just its own thing. But like, Mike said he saw it at the Monster House. And when we were investigating, I was doing I was doing a Gainesfield in the basement at the Monster House, and I saw the Babadook. And I kept saying the Babadook. I don't know where that video is, like if he's ever going to fucking post that video. But there's video of me being like, the Hat Man, or not even the Hat Man, but like the Babadook. And when I come out of the Estes and I look at Mike, and Mike's like standing right in my face, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing in my face? But he like looks at me and he's like, so how was it seeing the Hat Man? And I was like, I was really confused at the time. But then like later he tells a story about how he like has seen the Hat Man at Shayla and Cheyenne's place. And so it's like, it has to do with sleep paralysis, I guess. But when I was just doing a Gainesfield, and I was sensing what spirits were there. So I don't know if the Hat Man was related or not, or if the Babadook meant something different to Shayla and Cheyenne in their spiritual realms or whatever. But it's interesting that you say that, because it's like an actual thing that happens to people.
That's crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah, this is exactly the figure I saw. I mean, except for not a fedora. It was a fucking...
Yeah, but it's like...
I wasn't asleep, though. Like, I was awake and, like, had control over my body, too. Because I was moving. Like, like, that's the other thing that's, like, wild to me, is that, like, I saw him. I've always been, like, I always say it's a ghost story, but people are, like, differentiate between shadow people and ghosts. And I'm like, he definitely, like, it wasn't like a boo ghost, it wasn't like what we classically think of like as an apparition. But I also don't want to be like, was he just a shadow person?
Well, and I haven't explored shadow people in paranormal investigation yet. I don't know if we're gonna get there soon. We'll see, TBD. But
yeah,
Because we're dealing with Men in Black right now. I don't know if that's the
Um,
same thing as shadow people, but
I think shadow people are different because I think that
should shadow people have an agenda like the Men in Black is kind of my connection.
interesting. I don't know. I'm like, it's a ghost. It's a type of ghost.
Yeah.
I'm like a ghost, like I umbrella term for like but some people think shadow people are from other universes.
Yeah, I've also heard that they're like people in this universe who are dormant spiritually.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, like when you're walking around, you see shadow people, but they're just people disconnected from their spirit, but they still exist in spirit somehow. They still have souls. Like everybody still has like the
Yeah.
spark, you know? Well, that was an interesting revelation. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, so we be seeing some ghosts up in here.
We be seeing ghosts
Locally, Spokane, Seattle-ish,
everywhere.
because we both lived there at one point, and then San
Yeah.
Francisco. Tell us about the ghosts where you live. Let us know. You can follow us on Instagram at Files from the Other Side. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop here and say this. If you're a listener, hello, listeners.
Hello,
I would like to
listeners.
tell you that since the craziness that has been the online digital world, we're going to definitely stick to YouTube. We'll still have our Instagram at Files from the Other Side. I have a TikTok where I put up some of our podcast stuff. That's Skylar Schematonics. Our YouTube is Skylar Schematonics, but our podcast lives there, along with a lot of other paranormal investigation stuff. And then if you want to get a hold of me or Katie, you can do so through Files from the Other Side Instagram. But definitely just make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube so you can find out when new episodes are happening, and or following the Spotify so you can find out when new episodes are happening. Because of all of this online kerfuffles, I don't want you to miss an episode. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're doing the thing you need to do to get our episodes. So share this podcast if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe. That's what I just said. So
We'll see you on the other side.
what a mess.